It was a Tuesday evening in mid-November when I opened my son Brandon's briefcase and felt the ground shift beneath me. My name is Robert Ellis. I'm 68 years old, living in a modest one-bedroom apartment in Tampa, Florida, and I've been navigating early-stage Alzheimer's for nearly 2 years now. The diagnosis came from Dr. Amanda Hayes at Tampa Neurological Center. She sat across from me in her sunlit office, her voice gentle but direct. Robert, your brain is changing. There will be good days when everything feels sharp, and harder days when the fog rolls in. She was right. Some mornings I stand in the kitchen staring at my car keys, unsure why I picked them up. Other times, like last month at the Publix on Dale Mabry, I froze at the register, unable to remember how to swipe my card. The cashier had to help while strangers glanced over. Brandon was there that day. He leaned in close and whispered, "Dad, this is getting embarrassing. People are watching." Brandon works as a financial advisor at Summit Capital Partners downtown. He pulls in around $85,000 a year, leases a shiny black Audi A4, and talks endlessly about building wealth and smart investments. His wife, Sarah, runs a personal training studio called FitFlow Tampa out of their garage. She posts workout reels on Instagram, chasing followers and brand deals. When my wife Linda passed away 4 years ago, the grief hit like a slow wave. Our 4-bedroom home in Carrollwood felt too big, too full of memories. Brandon had a suggestion over dinner one night at a chain Italian place near the mall. "Dad, why don't you help us get a nice place? Liquidate some investments. Get us into something waterfront. It stays in the family, right? That's what fathers do." I trusted him. After 43 years as a CPA catching fraud in small businesses across the Bay Area, I thought I knew patterns. I sold my Boeing retirement accounts, cashed Linda's life insurance, even parted with her wedding band and mine for the melt value. It totaled $480,000. I bought them a 2-bedroom condo on the Hillsborough River with granite counters, marina views, and that new construction smell. Brandon hugged me tight when I handed over the keys. "You're the best, Dad. I promise. When the time comes, I'll take care of you." I downsized to a 1,200-square-foot senior apartment across town, paying $750 a month in rent. I kept my 2018 Honda Civic, a 7-day pill organizer holding 4 daily medications for blood pressure, cholesterol, and the early cognitive support drugs, and a fireproof cabinet stuffed with decades of client files. But over the next 18 months, things shifted. Brandon's visits grew shorter. Sarah avoided eye contact. Last Christmas, her Instagram stories showed their holiday party, twinkling lights, laughter, chosen family captions. I wasn't invited. Small humiliations piled up. Brandon spoke to me like I was a child. "Dad, did you remember your pills today?" Sarah filmed TikToks about boundaries with energy drains. 3 weeks ago, I had an episode at their condo. I wandered the living room, searching for Linda, mixing up the year. Sarah recorded it on her phone. I overheard her later telling Brandon, "This is what I mean. He needs professional care." I could hear the calculation in their voices. Brandon nodded along. What they didn't realize is that early-stage Alzheimer's doesn't erase 43 years of spotting financial red flags. It doesn't dull the instinct to read documents carefully or question inconsistencies. On one of my clearest days last Tuesday, November 15th, Brandon left his briefcase open on the kitchen island while he showered. Beneath his Summit Capital business cards with their embossed gold lettering sat a manila folder labeled Dad, Legal. The first document stopped my heart, a guardianship petition. Case number CV 2024-1923. 25 pages asking the court to declare Robert Ellis mentally incompetent and grant full conservatorship to Brandon Ellis. Filing date, November 20th, just days away. The second was a brochure for Palm View Memory Care, the cheapest facility in Hillsborough County at $3,100 monthly. But the folder held more. My remaining bank balance, $310,000. My Honda. And somehow, they listed the riverfront condo I bought them as an asset needing protection. I sat there for hours reading every line under the kitchen lights, clarity burning through the usual haze. My son was planning to take control of everything. The next morning I called Elena Vargas, an estate attorney I'd done taxes for years earlier. Her downtown office overlooked the river, diplomas lining the walls. "Robert," she said after I explained, "guardianship is serious. If granted, you lose the right to sign contracts, access accounts, or make medical choices. You become a legal dependent." I asked about the condo. No promissory note. No gift letter, just a straight transfer. Elena leaned forward. "If they argue you were incompetent at the time, they could try to unwind it or claim it as part of your estate to manage." The timeline pressed in, 4 days until the hearing. Elena warned, "What comes next? The conservator decides your residence. Visitors. Care. Cheap facilities replace better ones. Assets get liquidated." And the folder revealed more. A pre-approval from Gulf Coast Bank for a $160,000 home equity line against a condo. Brandon was ready to borrow against my gift. That evening I drove over unannounced. Sarah answered in workout gear, ring light glowing for a live session. She looked annoyed. "Brandon's at the office. Everything okay?" I insisted we talk. When Brandon arrived in his polo shirt, I laid the photocopied petition on the granite island. Case CV 2024-1923. His face drained of color. Sarah's eyes widened. I added the Palm View brochure and the bank pre-approval. "Explain this home equity line." Sarah snatched the paper. "You applied without telling me?" Brandon stammered it was for Dad's care. I pressed, $3,100 monthly at the facility. The loan covering over 4 years. "What about the rest?" I called Dr. Hayes on speaker. She confirmed my varying cognition but retained capacity during lucid periods. Sophisticated understanding of legal risks. Sarah turned on Brandon. "You told me he was worse." The room thickened with silence as I read excerpts from the petition. False incidents. Exaggerated claims. Brandon couldn't meet our eyes. The confrontation that night cracked something open between us. Brandon tried to spin it as protection, but Sarah pressed him on the specific incidents listed in the petition. "October 23rd, you said he couldn't drive safely, but we were in Miami that weekend." Brandon shifted uncomfortably. I pulled out my notebook filled with my own documentation and Dr. Hayes' recent evaluation stating I maintained full legal capacity during lucid times. No need for guardianship. Sarah stood abruptly. "You lied to the court?" Brandon muttered about protecting family assets. I asked quietly whose assets, the $310,000 remaining after I gave them $480,000 for the condo. Sarah sank into a chair. $480,000? Everything you had. Brandon's face flushed. "We're drowning here." "Sarah. Your studio's barely breaking even. My commissions are down. Mortgage is behind." The truth spilled. They owed more on the condo than its current market value after the dip. They weren't protecting me from myself. They were shielding themselves from their own bad decisions. I left that night with shaking hands, not from the Alzheimer's, but from adrenaline and betrayal. For the first time in months, I felt fully myself. Back in my apartment, I spread 43 years of CPA files across the table, tax returns, client contacts, names like retired Detective Mark Thompson, forensic accountant Dr. Lisa Chun, former client city councilwoman Rebecca Morales. People who owed me favors because I had protected their finances. I started calling. Mark. Remember helping your mother's estate? Need advice on elder abuse probes. Lisa. Forensic question about asset manipulation. Each call sharpened the picture. I wasn't a helpless elder. I was a veteran CPA with a network spanning law enforcement and finance. Wednesday morning. My former secretary Carla Ruiz showed up with coffee and pastries. She'd worked with me 20 years. Still organized my meds schedule remotely. Still saw the boss, not the patient. I showed her everything. Her face hardened. Brandon was just a kid when I started. You sacrificed for his college, wedding, everything. She organized documents efficiently, texted Elena Vargas immediately. Then she spotted the income verification form Brandon submitted to Gulf Coast Bank claiming a non-existent family trust paid me $3,200 monthly to qualify for the line of credit. The scheme clicked. Once conservator, Brandon could create the trust, pay himself management fees from my $310,000 plus facility costs, draining it in about 4 years before Medicaid. Stress triggered my usual fog. But Carla noticed. Handed me my pills. Called Dr. Hayes for an urgent cognitive eval before Monday. Brandon called Friday with a surprising invitation to Summit Capital's holiday party Saturday night. Sarah feels bad about the other night. We want you there. Red flags everywhere. But I went. Wearing the navy suit Linda bought for our 40th anniversary. Brandon met me in the parking lot. Dad. Some colleagues don't know about your condition. If you feel off, let me know. The party was elegant. Marble lobby. Open bar. Colleagues discussing portfolios. Sarah introduced me as Brandon's dad. He used to be an accountant. Past tense. Like I was already gone. For the first hour, I held conversations on retirement strategies. Even calculated compound interest mentally for someone. Then around 8:30, the disorientation hit. Room spinning. Words slurring. Mind blank on basic facts. I asked for Linda. Colleagues gathered. Sarah filmed immediately. Brandon used that patronizing tone. Dad. Let's get you home. You're having a bad night. They led me out while whispering about resistance to care. But here's what they missed. I hadn't taken my evening medication in the rush. Dr. Hayes had warned about stress plus missed meds triggering episodes, not disease progression. By the time we reached my apartment, clarity returned. I realized they orchestrated it. Invitation post-confrontation, immediate filming, public questions in front of witnesses for Monday's evidence. Sunday, I called Dr. Hayes. She confirmed situational confusion, ran tests showing normal capacity, documented it officially, and reported the staging to Adult Protective Services as potential elder abuse. That afternoon, a deputy knocked. Brandon had called concerned about my welfare and refusal of care. I showed the deputy everything. She noted it, but couldn't halt the hearing. Monday loomed. I had Dr. Hayes' report, recordings, financial forensics. Brandon had the video and petition. The stakes, my autonomy, my savings, my dignity. Monday morning, November 20th. Hillsborough County Courthouse. Room 3B. I arrived with Elena Vargas, Dr. Hayes, and Carla Ruiz. Brandon came with Sarah and a lawyer from Summit Capital's firm. Judge Rebecca Lang, experienced in guardianship cases, presided. She reviewed the petition. Brandon's lawyer presented progressive dementia, concerning financial decisions like gifting the condo, dangerous confusion, need for immediate protection. They played Sarah's party video. I looked disoriented, asking for my deceased wife. Medical records of the Alzheimer's diagnosis. Documentation of the impulsive $480,000 transfer. Claims of threats to disinherit and paranoia toward family. Judge Ling watched the video intently. Then she turned to me. Mr. Ellis, How do you respond? I stood. Your Honor, my son is lying. Murmurs rippled. Elena presented Dr. Hayes' fresh evaluation, full capacity during lucid periods, situational confusion from missed medication and stress, not incompetence. Dr. Hayes testified clearly. The judge asked about the video. Dr. Hayes explained it's common, predictable, not grounds for guardianship. Brandon's lawyer objected, but I interrupted with permission to play my recording from the confrontation night. Brandon's voice echoed, We're drowning. Can't afford this place without your help. Oh, more than it's worth. The courtroom stilled. Carla approached with folders proving months of planning, false statements in the petition, incidents on dates we were out of town, the fake trust claim on the bank form. Elena highlighted the home equity application fraud. Judge Lang examined documents. Brandon's lawyer whispered urgently. Then forensic accountant Dr. Lisa Chun presented charts. Brandon and Sarah 3 months behind mortgage, which I'd been quietly covering. $15,000 credit card debt. Sarah's studio averaging $450 monthly income. False income docs for the loan. Gambling withdrawals from the line of credit already at $12,000. The judge addressed Brandon directly. Is it true you're behind on payments while claiming your father is incompetent to manage money? Silence. Dr. Hayes affirmed my excellent comprehension of the financial matters discussed. I spoke. Your Honor, my son wants control of my $310,000 because he's desperate. He's willing to put me in the cheapest facility and lie to get it. Judge Lang closed the file. This petition is fraudulent. Evidence shows falsified information. Staged incompetence. Asset seizure under false pretenses. She denied guardianship. Found me competent. Ordered Adult Protective Services investigation for elder abuse. Probable cause for criminal charges on false documents. Issued a restraining order barring Brandon from contacting me on financial or medical matters. Gavel struck. In the hallway, Brandon grabbed my arm. Dad. This is crazy. I was helping. Elena stepped in. You're violating the order. Sarah was already on her phone. Clients canceling after public record surfaced. Brandon's world cracked visibly. That afternoon we filed at Tampa Police with Detective Paul Ramirez. Elder financial abuse. False documents. Fraud. Florida treats these seriously third-degree felonies. Options included prison time, fines, permanent record barring financial work. I signed the complaint. Within hours, Brandon was arrested at Summit Capitol. Colleagues watching, handcuffs click. Sarah deleted her accounts after posting briefly. Tuesday, I contacted Gulf Coast Bank about the fraudulent home equity application. The manager confirmed bank fraud investigation, potential federal reporting, immediate repayment demand for disbursed funds. Wednesday, private investigator Mark Thompson, retired detective I'd helped, spread findings on my kitchen table. $47,000 credit card debt across cards. Cash advances for minimums. BMW lease overdue. Sarah's license expired yet operating. $12,000 gambling withdrawals from the line of credit. The condo ownership unclear due to no documentation. Possible reclamation, especially with fraud. Elena filed civil suit for elder abuse. Fraud. Asset recovery. Froze the line of credit. Placed a lien on the condo. Temporary restraining order issued quickly. Brandon's employment terminated. Financial firms can't risk fraud charges. Bank demanded repayment of spent funds. Sarah filed divorce, citing hidden gambling and crimes. Mortgage foreclosure accelerated amid ownership dispute and charges. Social fallout hit hard in tight-knit Tampa professional circles. Mugshot online. Local news coverage. Neighborhood gossip. Brandon became the son who tried stealing from his Alzheimer's afflicted father. Friday, Carla relayed Brandon's desperate calls begging to drop charges. Claiming lessons learned. I had her tell him, I didn't raise a thief. Didn't work decades to fund gambling. Didn't survive this diagnosis to lose dignity. When he owns the choices beyond getting caught, maybe talk. Otherwise, no trust. Civil negotiations led to settlement. Brandon returns remaining funds. Surrenders condo claims. Accept supervised visitation only. I limit further criminal pursuit. I accepted foreclosure, not forgiveness. 6 months later, consequences solidified. Brandon pled guilty to elder abuse and false documents. 18 months probation. Community service. Permanent record. License revoked. Sarah's divorce finalized. She moved to family in Orlando. Working hourly at a gym. Condo foreclosed. I chose not to reclaim. Too painful. Legal settlement funded upgrades. I moved to Bayview Senior Living. Independent 2-bedroom with balcony over Tampa Bay. Community activities. Optional support. Dr. Hayes linked me to Alzheimer's group. I spoke at local bar association on elder abuse prevention, warning that cognitive changes don't erase experience or rights. Carla and I launched Clarity Planning Services, helping seniors organize documents, set protections. First clients, a widow pressured for power of attorney. A widower with son borrowing for risky investments. We documented. Connected ethical lawyers. Business grew to 24 families in months. The most meaningful change was personal. At support group, I met Catherine Mills, 63, retired educator, also early-stage Alzheimer's. Her husband left after diagnosis. We started with coffee, then lunches, dinners. No romance chase, but companionship from someone understanding daily cognitive navigation while retaining decision capacity. We travel, museum day trips, park weekends, concerts. We remind each other schedules, support tough days. Catherine gets why I pursued charges. Exploiting illness for theft destroys trust worst. Brandon still writes. Gamblers Anonymous. Construction work. Studio apartment. Seeking rebuild. I reply sparingly. Trust broken by calculated exploitation doesn't mend easily. He saw vulnerability as opportunity, not shared challenge. Consequences serve justice. Healing comes elsewhere. I established the Robert Ellis Elder Protection Fund via Alzheimer's Association, funding legal aid for exploited elders. First case, 74-year-old with grandson using debit for gambling. We connected Elena and Mark, charges filed. Protection set. Fund helped 18 families. Proving exploitation thrives without advocates or consequences. 1 year since finding those papers. I'm writing from Bayview. Alzheimer's progress slightly. Bad days more frequent. Good days need effort. But Dr. Hayes monitors quarterly. Elena handles legal directives. Carla coordinates schedule. Backup plans independent of family. Full care prepaid here if needed. Remainder to fund. Catherine and I plan Alaska tour for seniors with support, proving limits wrong. Brandon's probation ended. He claims change. Maybe. But my life doesn't hinge on his redemption. Hardest lesson. Choosing protection over blind loyalty nearly cost everything. Some call prosecuting family harsh. Say forgive desperation. But using illness to steal is choice, not mistake. Forgiveness without accountability enables. I chose well-being over comfort. If facing similar, aging parent or own challenges, remember, condition doesn't make you burden. It demands protection, respect, autonomy. Dignity is fought for, not surrendered with age.